Hey guys, and welcome to the next leg of our journey during this challenge run. I just brought us to the Timeless Wood to start, just so that we can see what memories we get to put onto our four heroes here. So I'm going to start with Victor. Let's see what we get. Kind of annoying. Let's go fresh bread. I probably want to give this one to you. For what I'm going to be doing here, I think I want to put this one on her. I really don't want her getting hit that much. Uluk often gets hit for others, and he's going to probably be getting hit more with this new comp that we're going to go for. Well, I say new comp, we're obviously using these four still. It's just we're going to be switching some things around. I'll probably go Traveling Heal for you. Hey, it's Future Past me, here to give you some more information about the run as you watch it. So first thing that we'll talk about then is hero paths that we took for this one. So we went Vanguard for Victor, Nightsworn for Catherine, Surgeon for Varentia, and Warlock for Uluk. This party was basically all about damage, so I wanted to be able to win fights as fast as I could, and it basically made it so that I ended up forfeiting some of the more support options that I usually have, but usually we can end the fights before the party sustains too much damage. So yeah, the main reason why I did this is because I need to have very, very consistent damage when we get to the final boss of this run. So yeah, upon reaching the first inn, I opted to go for the Crimson Tick, because that gives us an item called the Blood, which is very, very, very good at the end boss again, because it gives you a guaranteed crit, extra damage, and speed as well. It does give you stress damage, but it's just really good to have in a pinch on the final boss. So yeah, we got very lucky too, actually. We got a stew pot, which basically sorted me for food for the entire run, so I never had to worry about buying more food on this run. So I wanted to get a trophy really early into this run, because if you get a trophy really early, not only do you get the benefits of having the trophy early, you also have an extra, well, you have more chances to find the collector, who has some other really, really good rewards that any party can really benefit from. So yeah, it is risky though, going for a region boss early to get a trophy though, because you're obviously not very upgraded. You know, we only get to level 2 skills for this one, and those were Bolster and Battlefield Medicine, because those are just the two most important skills probably for all the runs, because we always want to be dealing with stress effectively, and healing obviously keeps our party alive. One thing that was very cool though was we got a My Time in the Desert just from arriving at the inn, and this gives the party member a 5% chance to start in stealth, which is really good for the Nightsworn Grave Robber, because her whole thing is about staying in stealth to do more damage, basically. So that was really cool. And I decided to use that because we were going to go into the region boss. So yeah, that was really, really nice to have. So the region boss that I ended up going after then was the librarian, who is quite nasty, but I generally have a better time with him than most of the other region bosses. That's just me. Some people probably find other ones harder. That's completely fine. So my strategy going into this was essentially to have the man-at-arms basically to taunt and riposte it, so he would be taking the brunt force of all the damage and stress, but also being able to remove the librarian's dodges with his ripostes. So yeah. The other thing that I wanted to ensure was to blind the librarian before he can use Burning Bright, which he does after burning a full stack of books. This fight actually went really badly. We also almost lost someone during this fight, which was really rough. The first thing that went wrong was that we blinded him, but he didn't finish burning the stack of books. He instead went for a categorize, which he ended up missing, but it left him open to do a Burning Bright, so we took a lot of damage very, very quickly into that. Another thing was that we just did not have enough items to remove his dodge. In fact, I got like nothing to use against him for that, so that was really, really unlucky. I was relying on 50-50 hits, which is not great, especially when our Burning Stars on the Occultist isn't even leveled, so it can't ignore things like dodge. And yeah, that was really rough. We had Pyromaniac on our Grave Robber against a boss that is immune to fire. So there was one round where she was essentially useless, apart from doing like 3 or 4 damage max. So that was awful. And then obviously Stress started to get really, really rough on the man-at-arms, because that was his whole deal, was tanking the stress and the damage. And this, we weren't doing the damage fast enough because of all the dodges, so the librarian ended up finishing burning all the books, which is awful, because he gets to heal, and then every round he gets to do Burning Bright, which is just awful. This was when one of our party members went to death's door.
Come on. He's so low.
Which was really, really bad and really scary. I thought we were going to lose the run right there, but we managed to get him off death's door and finish the librarian before anything worse could happen. So yeah, it was very rough, but we got what we wanted out of it. We got the complete catalogue, which is, in my opinion, it's the better of the two. The other one is also pretty good, because it lets you have all the scouting for all the regions, so you always know exactly where you're going. But for this one in particular, I wanted the complete catalogue, which gives extra burning on crits, which is very nice with our Grave Robber. She's very crit focused. And yeah, the Occultist actually has a pretty decent crit chance as well on most of his moves, so the extra fire is definitely appreciated. But I had to end up avoiding a lot of the fights in this region just because I needed to give my party time to recover for, both health and stress. Stress was a lot harder to recover because we couldn't get into a fight, so I couldn't use the man-at-arms to reduce stress and things like that. So stress became really, really troublesome during this first region. We got to, I believe it was ramp up, but again, stress was a really big worry because crits give stress, and the two frontliners on the Oblivion ramp up party, they get crits, which just is awful for stress. and they can also apply horror, not on the front line, but the sort of like the cherub ones. I think that's what they're called. They can apply horror, which is also really bad. But we managed to get through that, and we reached the inn. Fortunately for us, though, we had a pig at the inn, which is really good. It not only is really good for relationships, but it removes a lot of the stress as well, which was obviously a really big factor right now. Then I have to talk about quirks that were becoming really problematic. There was Erudite on Victor, which is actually a positive quirk, but it blocks a lot of the nice inn items that I would like to give to him. Pyro, obviously, on Catherine was, awful, as you saw in the librarian fight. Doomsayer was being really bad on Varentia, though, because it just stunted all of her relationships. So I needed to find a way to remove these problematic quirks as quickly as I could, because remember, all these quirks, they're carried over from the previous run. So whatever quirks I have going into the next run, they're going to stay. So yeah. We did also get a Radiant's Reach trinket for Uluk, which is really nice because it does extra range damage, essentially. At the cost of, if you miss, it does stress, but he never misses. So yeah. Fito then was our next relationship, and going into this was already rough. We had 2 negative relationships, one for Victor and Catherine, and one for Uluk and Varentia. So everyone was affected by the negative relationships, and I really needed to be careful when I made decisions regarding relationships, because I didn't want one party member to like really just end up being the one that everyone hates, because then it's really difficult to fix those later on. So yeah. Despite all of that was going on, we went to a den first in this region, and it was pretty easy, despite, all the negatives that was going on. We had spiders for the second round, which is notorious for being a party killer, because they end up targeting one particular party member, and they end up stunning that party member, and then they end up losing turns, and they end up just taking loads and loads of blight, and yeah, really rough overall. But we just didn't get any of that, which was a really needed break, honestly. One big quirk that was starting to really become a really nice one was Cosmic Slayer on Uluk, which it affects all the cultist type enemies, and it makes it so that if one of them has death armor, that quite a few do, he gets to ignore one death armor token, which is really nice. It's called Execution, which got introduced in the latest patch because of all the death's door changes. We were forced to dip into the lair for this region. Basically, all 3 paths led to it, so there was no way to avoid it. We did the first 2 fights, but we didn't go to the boss. It's not worth going for a second trophy when we already have one. So yeah. I believe in Ingress fights that we kept getting against the cultists, they were going pretty smooth, especially with Cosmic Slayer, as I mentioned on Uluk earlier. But we just weren't getting any of the really good trinkets that I really wanted to get. Like Silent Treatment, which would be incredible for our Nightsworn Grave Robber, which does even more damage It gives a bigger chance of crits in stealth, and gives her a chance to start in stealth more often. But you take more damage when she's not in stealth. But yeah, that would have been really nice to have, but we just weren't getting it, which was really unfortunate. I did a lot of Oblivion Ingress fights and we just couldn't find it. I managed to get us to a hospital so I could get rid of some of the really bad quirks. I ended up removing Doomsayer and Pyro because those were the two big problematic ones. I didn't remove Victor's Erudite, but I did remove Lazy and Greeting because those also were pretty bad for his relationships that were really stunting them too. We spent a lot of money here that could have gone towards some in items, but we're going to keep these quirks for the entire playthrough, so I wanted to get rid of them, and I think it was a good investment. Catherine had ended up picking up Hypochondriac, which meant she kept picking up diseases during the run, but I also got a stagecoach item that removes disease, or has a chance to remove disease at every location, so I wasn't really too worried about it, so I kept it on. It might end up that I remove it later, but yeah, we'll have to see. We had a quick brush with the Antiquarian. I mean, as quick as it can be, because it's Antiquarian and the fight lasts way longer than it should. But other than that, we made it to the end of the region. We had a real quick scare with Victor at Oblivion's Rampart with stress. So close to a meltdown, which would have been disastrous for the run. I got the opportunity then to go Sluice after this region, which I ended up taking because I wanted more mastery points, and the other two choices that we were getting rewards on were pretty bad, honestly. So going into this, I managed to fix up relationships a bit, so we had no bad relationships going into this one, which was I was very thankful for. So yeah, we ended up fighting the Kyurgeon. I didn't need to, but it was mainly just for relationships. I just want to keep the good relationships going, and fighting the Kyurgeon was mutually better for the party overall. Hula Hook, though, went to Death's Door, which was really rough, again, which was, yeah. We did defeat the Kyurgeon, though, and we got the apron, which I put on Victor, which was really good, because Victor's path, being Vanguard, makes his dot resistance really low, so he ends up picking up Blight and Bleed and Fire really easily. But what the apron does is at the end of the round, it converts those dots into healing. So yeah, that was really good for us. We did another den for even more mastery points, and that brought us up to 3 whole mastery points when we came out of Sluice, which was really good. And relationships were looking far better. So our final region then was the Tangle, and we went in with 2 positive relationships, but then we had 1 negative relationship with Victor and Varentia. These two just, for some reason, just could not get along, and I thought these two would do much better together, seeing as they're the tank and the healer, and they end up, should end up defending and healing each other a lot, which gives more chances for positive relationships, but it just wasn't happening for some reason. So yeah. Despite that, though, the party was really good on this region. We were really strong after getting those 3 mastery points from the Sluice, so we were like, we were kind of over leveled, if that makes sense. We were just doing really well. We went to a hoarder in this region too, but he just wasn't selling anything useful for me, which was unfortunate. But now I have to talk about my worst mistake that I made in this run. So I needed to take a right to avoid taking 2 loathing in one shot, and I made a blunder. That's all I can say. I just made a full-on blunder, and I went left. And not only did I ended up filling up the loathing meter, I also took us towards Shambler's altar. So yeah, which meant that no matter what choice, someone wasn't gonna like it, and yeah, that was rough. I ended up getting nothing good from it, and I only got final boss buffed, and stress and relationships, ruined a bit. Yeah, you can hear it in my voice in the clip that I'll probably show you when I realised just how much I'd messed up.
Oh, I should have looked. Oh my god. No, that was awful.
We made it to the end though, safely, even though I'd made a catastrophic mess up. But fortunately for me, I had a lot of in items and money to somewhat fix my mistake, and this ended up getting everyone almost to max affinity. Almost. If I hadn't made the mistake, they definitely would have. But a really, really good thing that we got was I ended up getting 3 My Time in the Deserts for Catherine, which I mentioned earlier. But I also had a clandestine cape and shimmering powder that I picked up from the sluice, and this gave her a really, really high chance of starting in stealth, and then when she wasn't in stealth, I could use shimmering powder to put her in stealth to get the full benefits from her path. So yeah. So then it was time to go into the mountain, and we went in with full positive relationships, which was really, really just yes. That's what you want to see when you're going in, So the strategy then for the Seething Sigh, which is this final boss, is Catherine and Uluk are going to be our main damage dealers, basically. Victor then is our tank, as usual. He's taunting and riposting and all that, and also de-stressing. I ran him with command in this too, because I wanted to be able to secure things, essentially. But I didn't really end up getting to use his command, just because I needed to manage his stress and stuff more, basically. So then, basically every round, the Seething Sigh will inflate one of its lungs, either front or back, and either Catherine or Uluk needs to do 12 damage to one of those to deflate it, essentially. And I really, using Pirouette on Catherine when the front lung is inflated means that I get to deflate that lung and deal damage to the main health bar, which is the middle one, in the same run. Uluk was mainly used for the back lung, though there's nothing stopping Catherine from using Thrown Dagger from stealth to pop that back one. So yeah, that was how we were mainly doing it. Yeah, when damage wasn't adding up, I could use things like the blood that I talked about earlier, And command I would have liked to use, but Victor just was taking too much stress throughout the whole run, so I couldn't really spare a round to use command. But then like halfway into the fight, the Seething Sigh starts doing deep breaths, which inflates both lungs. By that time though, we'd basically already destroyed both lungs, so he really did not do too many deep breaths. We ended up killing one of the lungs like after his second or so deep breath, and then the last one, the other lung did not last very long after that, and neither did the boss itself actually. We ended up taking off both lungs and then killing the main one, which was really, really good. So yeah, that's how that went basically. I was very, very happy with how the party performed on this run. Very, very happy. But the next run is Obsession, and the boss in that has always been really, really rough from my experience. They did change it recently, so I'll look into the changes and try and plan around that accordingly. But until then, I will see you then for Obsession. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate everything that you guys give me, all the support for these videos, just to enable me to keep doing these. And yeah, I will see you next time for Obsession. See you then. Take care, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.
GG.